Good afternoon, everybody. Hey, welcome to another edition of the Mo Show Live. It's Morris Lilienthal. I was just reflecting before we went live that I've been in the greater Huntsville area for about 13 years now, and it's home. There's no doubt about it. There's a lot of things that make our community great. We have a great economy. Ups and downs of the economy around the world don't seem to affect us. We have great school systems. But I think what really makes a great community is the people. And we're going to be talking about our community today and the great people that step up to help out in our community and local leaders like our guest today, Melissa Thompson. Melissa is the president and CEO of the Community Foundation of Greater Huntsville. Melissa is going to be talking to us a little bit about her organization and what they do to make our community a better place to live in so many respects. So Melissa, nice to see you. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule today. How are you doing?
I am doing great, and this is the topic, my favorite topic, to talk about our community. So this is such a privilege to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you so much. I love this community. It is definitely home for me and my family. We have so much to offer, but with a growing community comes problems. And so the question is how does our community step up and solve those problems? So that's going to be kind of why I wanted to have you on today. So folks, if you were tuning in and you've got questions or comments, whether you're watching on Facebook or you're watching on Twitter, please put them in the comments below. They'll come in through StreamYard and I'll be able to get to those and put them up here for us to answer if we can and we have time. Also, if you're watching or listening to the show like a lot of people do on the replay, or you're listening to the podcast, come into the Facebook Live afterwards or something and leave comments or questions. We're going to leave some information in the comments below if you want more information about how to find out more about the Community Foundation of Huntsville and how you can get involved and help. So I guess, when I started, when I was doing some research, today, I was kind of like, well, how did this organization start? Kind of give us a little bit of background about the history of the organization.
Absolutely. Well, community foundations as a whole are over 100 years old. So it's not a new concept in philanthropy, but it's a relatively new concept for our community. So our community foundation was started in 2009 through the generous founding donation of Joe and Pam Alexander, who said, hey, our community really needs a community foundation. And the purpose of a community foundation is simply to mobilize generosity. And so that's our vision. That's our mission. We want to be the trusted leader in mobilizing generosity to improve quality of life. And so how we've done that for since 2009. And over those years, we have raised over $50 million of charitable funds to support our community. And again, this is a community we love. Like you, Morris, I was not born here, but as a friend says, I got here as quickly as I could. And so I just love that line because that's really the story of so many of us who come here. We've done some work that a Vital Signs project and have learned that over 50% of folks who live in the Madison County area were born outside of the state of Alabama. So we are a very transient community, and yet people who come here don't ever really want to leave. And there's a reason for that. It's become home to us. And so, just like for any of us, we always are looking at ways that our home, we can improve our home. So we're always looking at ways we can improve our community. And we do that with such generous support from the folks who live here.
Yeah, that's so true though. We run into the folks all the time. My wife's a school teacher out in Madison and in the Madison City Schools, and she has so many children that come in and transplants, but then they don't ever want to leave. She finds 7, 8, 10 years later, those kids who she saw in elementary school are now graduating from the high schools, and their families never left because once they got here, they loved the quality of life, loved all of it that our area has to offer. So talk to us a little bit. Talk a little bit how it got started and just an amazing number of $50 million that you guys have raised and the grants that you're giving out to help a lot of local nonprofits. But talk a little bit about what the mission or the goal is. I was reading through the website something about increasing community awareness, developing community involvement, and maximizing community impact, which is so strong. It's like, hey, there's a problem. Let's let everybody know about this problem. Let's get the community to invest to solve this problem. And then while we're solving it, let's make the biggest impact we can have. So can you expand upon that a little bit?
Absolutely. We've done a lot of work recently to say, when it comes to generosity, we can do so many different things. And yet that complexity makes it sometimes a little difficult to explain what a community foundation is. So our overall mission is to mobilize generosity. And we do that, as you said, by increasing community awareness, deepening community investment, and maximizing community impact. And as we do that, the cycle begins again. So as we're doing projects that really make an impact on the community, more people know about it, and say more people want to get involved and invest in those projects and continue that cycle. And so it really is, one of the taglines that we say, which is so much more than a tagline, is that we help donors be generous, however that looks for them. And so what's been so interesting over the past 10 plus years that we've been doing our work is every donor looks a little different. It's like your thumbprint, right? It's like, just like every individual is unique, so is their philanthropy and what's important to them. And so, whenever I'm talking to prospective donors, the first thing I want to know is, tell me your story. Tell me what's important to you, and tell me what kind of legacy you want to leave. And, people think of legacy in terms of like, oh, that's what happens after I'm gone. But we talk about legacy as something that you're creating right now. And so how do I want people to remember me? It's what I do during my lifetime as well as following my death. And so over the years, we've just, we currently work with we have about 300 different funds that we manage. This past year, we worked with about 3,500 different donors who came in literally from $5 donations to support our work and the projects that we're spearheading to over $1 million. And so donors come in all shapes and sizes. And for us, it's important. We are part of this community, and it's our home too. And so I'll give you an example. Last year, on March 16th, I believe it was, the first case of COVID was diagnosed in the state of Alabama. And everyone was just, it wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when. And so we got that news, okay, COVID is here. And so it was a matter of like, for us, what are we going to do about it? Well, we know what we do best, and that's mobilize generosity. So that was on a Friday. And by Monday, we activated our emergency relief fund. And we said, I kind of joke about it as my big leap of faith in this community. Because when we sent the email out that activated the fund, we had two different paths. One is if you're a donor and you want to support it, here's how you can donate. The other, side by side, was to the nonprofits that said, tell us what your needs are. Apply for funding that we didn't have yet. But I believed in this community, and I believed that they would step up, and they did in remarkable ways. So that very first week, we had $7,000, and we were like, okay, we're in. We're going to get this money deployed. And so we had a grants committee that over the course of the summer met 13 times. They put so many hours of effort into this work. But what happened was we said, okay, here's $7,000 of grants that we've made. Here are the needs. And I think it was like, I don't know, $35,000 worth of needs presented. We sent it out to our donors and said, here's the need, here's the gap, help us. And help us, they did. So we sent that email out on a Friday. On a Monday, I got a call. I'll never forget it. It was one of the best days of my life. It was like literally 8:03. On a Monday morning, and the donor said, Melissa, I saw your email and I want to help. My wife and I are going to add $100,000 to that fund.
Wow.
And I said, oh my goodness. And it was because we have such an incredibly generous community. When they see a need, they respond how they can. And so as a result of that, we had some incredible community partnerships. Toyota came in and really launched the Take 5 to Give 5 campaign in conjunction with Way TV as well as the Chamber. And we just kept working it. And so literally donors came in from $5, they texted to give, to these, $100,000 plus gifts. So everyone was able to do something. Before it was all over, we had over 500 donors who contributed to the Emergency Relief Fund. And by the end of the summer, we had deployed over $800,000 of grants to help our community through the COVID crisis. And so that was just this, that just to me was such an evidence of what an incredible community we live in. Mm-hmm. When presented with a need, they step up in a big way. And it was, companies stepping up. It was individuals stepping up. It was all together. We began using the hashtag Stronger Together. And it was so much more than a hashtag because we lived it. And we saw those nonprofit organizations on the front line saying, hey, I can't stop my work just because of COVID. My work is all the more important right now.
Right.
And they were on the front lines doing their work and just saying, I'll figure out the money later. Or I've got to feed kids. Kids don't have their meals at school. How kids need to eat. So it was every sort of resourcefulness, innovation, all of the things that just make our community so great. I saw it in the world of philanthropy, and that was just life changing. That was so, to me, it was just such an evidence of what a kind of community we live in.
Well, it is, and it's just amazing when you have something, especially like this, that we've never seen in our lifetimes before, and to have people step up, and then not only step up during a crisis, but step up in a time of financial uncertainty. And a lot of businesses are concerned. People who were donating may have been some concerns about their own future financial stability. But a couple of things that stick out to me with that. One is some of the nonprofit fundraising that I've done, and something that I say with me is when we're raising money with stuff is big or small, we'll take them all, and it's just, hey, we'd love to have the $100,000 donations, but hey, if we can get a whole bunch of the $10 and $50 donations, man, we'll love those just as well. And having that many more people buy in is important. But something that probably I think may stand true is instead of just saying, hey, we need funds or donations to help different things, it seems to me sometimes maybe having a particular cause here with the COVID being specifically that people that can relate to and understand, that really helps drive home those donations. Does that seem to help when y'all have kind of like what we were going to talk about in a little bit about the community compass funds, where you have a certain cause that people are passionate about, and certainly here everybody eventually, maybe not early on this time last year knew, but certainly, as the days went on last year, understood the crisis we were in with COVID, but that seems to be helpful too.
There's no question that, again, though, that's what makes our community so great, is different people are inspired by different things. And so if everyone steps up in their area of passion, our community's needs will be addressed in a way that's meaningful. And so I can't help but telling you this one story. We had a sweet lady who sent us a card, and she said, hey, I got an extra Social Security check this month, and I know that there are people in my community who need to eat. And so I want this money to go to, and she named this specific organization that was going to provide food. And so I'm like, oh my goodness, this is someone who's really, it's kind of like the widow's mite, she's giving out of, she's been blessed with an extra Social Security check, and she's going to give. And here's the thing that's so amazing about that. She's continued to give every month since for food to help people in our community. And it's so humbling. Some of her first cards, she sends us sweet notes every time she sends the cards, and they go in our office. And it really is those reminders. One of my colleagues, she has this, she made a copy of the card and put it on her desk, just as a reminder of why we do what we do, is that whenever someone's a donor, they're as blessed as those who receive their funds. And so it's just that circle that says, okay, out of your abundance you can give, or out of your poverty you can give, but everyone can do something.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about, how with the community changing, and for those maybe who are watching, if we've got people watching outside of Huntsville, I know some of my viewers watch from around the country, Huntsville is such an evolving community, especially in the last 20, 25 years. And I talked to, people like my law partner, Doug, who grew up here in Dunn, and I've talked to people who live out in the Madison area where my son goes to school, and we play youth sports. And they talk about what Madison used to be like 20 years ago or 25 years ago. This used to be a cornfield, that kind of thing. But, as the community changes, our needs change. There's more people here. There's more issues with lower socioeconomic issues that come. There's more issues with educational issues and food needs and technology needs. Talk a little bit about what y'all's role has been and maybe how that's evolved over the last 12 or 13 years.
Sure, I'd be happy to. And so a lot of it comes down to different types of funds to do different types of things. And so we have a number of our funds where donors set them up in their life. Think of them like charitable checking accounts. They continue to give to the causes that they care about, and they're keeping their pulse on the community and the things that they care about. Then there are other funds that we manage. You mentioned our Compass Society funds. That's a perfect example. We talk about those funds being for visionaries who say, okay, I want to invest in this community, not only to address the problems of today, but to address the problems that will come 20, 25 years down the line when I may no longer be here, but my kids, my grandkids will be. I really believe that I want this community to flourish long after I'm gone. And so a fund like our Compass Society, it's very much fluid because it's adapting to the problems of the day. And so it says, okay, what are those strategic solutions that philanthropy can come in and help fund and help create the community we want to see? We talk about generosity or philanthropy is really just an investment in the community you want to see. And so it's just that idea of forward looking that says, okay, I need some flexible funding in my own giving. I might give to my favorite causes, but I also might want to give to what I don't even know is a problem in the future.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about we kind of opened the door there a little bit with the Community Compass Fund. As I understood, and we were talking about this a little bit, I think maybe before we went live, but this Community Compass Fund, as you guys have identified, I think it's 8 different frameworks of life that people, if somebody has an interest in a certain sphere or a thing, they're like, look, I'd love to help. I'm passionate about the environment, or I'm passionate about education or wellness, whatever it is, and I'll let you run through the list here. But these are areas that you said, hey, these are I assume these are areas that we find that a lot of people have an interest in, and then you try to align that person who wants to help with their area to use the most bang for their buck in that area here locally, right?
Yeah, so kind of taking the step back, what we've done is we have what we call our quality of life framework. And we've identified 8 areas of our community's quality of life that everything kind of fits into that bucket in one way or the other. So it's basic needs, the economy, education. I have to use my cheat sheet a little bit. Environment, health and wellness, lifestyle, and neighborhoods and communities. And so we really feel like that compass, 8 points on our compass, identifies all the areas of our quality of life. So we've got 2 different efforts for that. One is the Compass Society itself that says, okay, an investment in this Compass Society, we call it's one of our now and later funds. Some folks who are old enough like me remember the old now and later taffy candy where, you'd eat it and it was like, it really probably had not any nutritional value, but we all had it. And it was just as its name suggests, it's kind of a now and later component. And so we have a number of funds that we manage at the Community Foundation that are now and later funds. Compass is one of those. So 1/2 of all donations to the Compass Society go to current year grant making, and 1/2 are endowed that will continue to spin off money every year forever. And so it's that endowment component that says, okay, not every dollar I invest now is going to go into the community right now, but it's going to outlast me for years and years to come and will continue to grow. And so it really is that visionary component that says I'm investing in a future that I may never be here to see, but I want my dollars to go to work. And so that Compass Society, if you invest in the Compass Society, it's going to go each year. There'll be grants in all 8 areas of the quality of life. But like you said, there's some folks who are like, I love that. I love the community, but I'm super passionate about education, or I'm super passionate about the environment. And I just want to invest in that. Well, we have a fund under the Compass Society for just the environment or just education in each of those areas. And so I had a donor a couple of years ago. She set up a new fund with us, and she did it in December, tax purposes. And she came and sat down with me in January and said, Melissa, here's the deal. I know who I know, but I think there's so much more going on in this community than I even know. And she's like, I think, native Huntsvillian, been here forever. But she said, my areas of interest are basic needs and the environment. And I really am kind of curious on what else is going on out there. So I'm going to put this money into this fund, and you all run a grants program for it. So we solicited grant applications from the community, and we had a grants committee that awarded those grants, and we were able to go back to the donor and say, here's where your money went. And so we looked at some of her giving history, and these were brand new organizations for her. So it exposed her to both that she was passionate about in the environment and basic needs, but she learned some new organizations who needed support. And so it was a win-win. More organizations got funded. And so it wasn't just for her, it wasn't the same ones that she'd always been funding. She's continuing to support those, but it also gave her a new avenue for new donations and just kind of expanded her horizons for her own community.
Man, that's unreal. I mean, it's just like I said, you're not only helping a specific cause sometimes, but you're helping perpetuate giving by a person's gift, and then you're helping broaden the horizon of the donor as well. Real quick, Melissa, I want to say hello to a couple people watching. Mitch Jackson and my friend out in the Orange County, California, said hello and is enjoying our discussion. And then our a great local business leader and a person to our community, Dorothy Houston, said hello as well. She said great information. She's a former guest as well on the Mo Show. Dorothy, thanks for watching. Folks, if you're just tuning in, welcome to Mo Show Live. Our guest today is Melissa Thompson. She is president of the Community Foundation of Greater Huntsville. We are talking about how the Community Foundation helps to work and address needs in our community and align people who are looking to give and help with those needs and broaden their horizons and everything else. I guess, one thing that I wanted to talk about when I was looking through your website was not only are you guys providing, financial resources, Melissa, but it looks like you're also providing other resources such as professional development, networking. I saw something about a summit on philanthropy. Can you talk a little bit about, in addition to funding, what are some of the other things you do for our community?
So, because we're so embedded in this community, we want it to be successful. One of the ways we know that the nonprofit organizations are on the front lines of the work in our community. And so it's really important for us, not only to provide our nonprofit organizations with financial resources, but additionally that capacity building work that says, how can you be better at what you do? And so one of the things that we do each year for our nonprofit organizations, it's our Navigate conference. And so it's Navigate Nonprofit Networking Conference. It's for some of the folks who've been around for a while, it was formerly known as Nonprofit University. It had a little name change that's kind of more consistent with the brand, navigating those path forward for nonprofit organizations. And interestingly enough, the viewers of your show will have kind of a little preview. Registration for Navigate opens tomorrow. And so people who are interested can go to navigatehsv.org to register. We actually are going to go live and in person this year at the BBC. We are going to be at limited capacity to keep everyone safe. And we've taken a number of other precautions from prepackaged lunches and snacks and everything. Our first priority is to keep our guests and attendees safe. But it is a great opportunity. There are like 9 concurrent tracks of training, and the cost is $60, and it includes lunch and a reception and all the training. So it's a really low-cost way for nonprofit leaders to not only network, but to really do their work even better and to deepen their commitment to the community and the work that they're doing. And so that's one way we provide that additional training. We do something similar for our professional advisors. We have a professional advisors network where we really work with local attorneys and financial advisors, wealth managers to say, how can we help you help your clients do their charitable giving more efficiently and more effectively? So the things that come up at those meetings are things like the new changes in the tax law as they relate to charitable giving. What are some smart strategies to help your clients be more effective in their giving? And so everything we do ties back to generosity in one way or the other, whether it's helping those who are helping others be generous or helping the nonprofits who are facilitating those donations. And so our Summit on Philanthropy is our annual celebration of generosity. It's such a great event because we come together and we celebrate our community and our community's generosity. And you just kind of got a little preview of just some of the great things that are happening in this community right now. And our story is not about the Community Foundation. Our story is about the community. And so it's about what an incredible community we live in and helping that community be generous. And so I always tell people, I'm afraid to say this, on this broadcast, but I tell people I have the best job in the world because I get to help people be generous. And when people are generous, they're at their very best. And so I say that often because I believe it. And I had someone who looked at me and with all seriousness, and they go, Melissa, you do have the best job in the world. And I want that job. And I'm like, oh, I need to stop and think about that. I work myself right out of a job. But it's, there's enough to do in this community. There's plenty of room for all of us. And I have a role to play. And I love partnering with others who also have a role to play. And together, we really can make this great community even better.
Absolutely, 100%. Well, I think you do have a great job in doing. I'm sure it's hard in doing, and there are a lot of challenges in doing, and seeing the challenges that the community faces, but then having that satisfaction of being able to help those organizations and those causes, and then like one of the examples you were sharing earlier with one of the donors to let them see how what they're doing and helping and really broaden their horizons to see it's got to be so rewarding. Talk a little bit about. I've got to imagine that some of what y'all do, especially when you're talking back about what we're talking about the mission statement about maximizing community impact, talk a little bit about what if any interaction you may have with local leaders and government trying to really maximize that and working with a lot of organizations and how critical that is.
We love our governmental leaders because they also, again, we're looking at this and how are we going to make our community better? And that's right. It's directly in line with what they're wanting to do. And so our partnerships are super strong. I'll give you an example. Happened late last year. We actually have a public-private partnership with the city of Huntsville on a new skate park down at John Hunt Park. And this evolved. We had a donor who stepped forward and said, I want to put money in a skate park. And I want to do it through the Community Foundation. And I want to invite other donors to join. He made a substantial initial gift, but he invited others to join. And so all of a sudden, we are in the skate park business. But I love it because it was fueled by this donor's generosity. And we're working closely with the City of Huntsville, Parks and Recreation to make it happen. It's part of the John Hunt Park Community Complex. We just got a grant. We just announced this week from the Tony Hawk Skate Park Project. So this is like a national recognition for this work that's being done, and it came out of donors' generosity dreams. And so for us, it's helping that donor make that a reality. And so we're doing a public input conversation on Tuesday. People who are interested in skate parks, jump onto our website or our Facebook page, and you can find ways to connect on that public input meeting. Because it really is going to be about what the community wants to see in this. So the donor wanted to launch it, but it wants it to be the community's project. And so that's a way that we work with the City of Huntsville. And it was, those relationships were forged out of trust, relationships of trust and mutual respect. And we just were able to together make this happen. And so we did the big press announcement in January announcing the project, and are continuing to work with them to make this happen.
That's so awesome. That's great to hear. And I will echo what Mitch just said. Tony Hawk is about all I know about skateboarding, but I know enough to know that he's the man in skateboarding. I remember when I was my son's age, if you had a video game, you had to have the Tony Hawk Nintendo, whatever the skateboarding game was. God did not build me to ride skateboards. That would have been broken by. But I know there are a lot of kids out there and adults that enjoy it, and to have that resource for our community is outstanding. But having partnerships like that and being able to relate, because and that really goes. I don't care which side of the political fence you're on. The same objective is there, is to build a better community. And it's like, I have, and I'm sure a friend of yours is a friend of mine, John Allen, who's, president of the Community 100. John and I've known each other, been in Rotary together for years. But same thing with him, what they're trying to do with their organization. And same thing here is just to try to make our community a better place. I guess, and just a couple other things that I saw as we get ready to wrap up that I saw, just some that touched me and looked that I'm very familiar with, some projects that you guys have done. And that was one about the digital inclusion project with the Boys and Girls Club. Pat Wynn is a former guest on our show. And I know what they're doing is such great work around North Alabama with the Boys and Girls Clubs, but being able to provide, it looks like you guys provided a grant for them for technology that a lot of kids don't have that. And that's something that we're learning here in the pandemic, that a lot of children, while people are at home and while it's a blessing for my son to be able to have easy access to internet and the technology that he needs to work from home, but a lot of kids don't have that. Talk a little bit about, that kind of need and y'all addressing that as we get ready to wrap up.
Absolutely. So that partnership and that funding came from Google Fiber. This is our 4th year. We actually are going to be doing another grant round of that coming up here shortly. And so Google Fiber said, hey, we are really committed to digital inclusion, and how can we make this happen? And they're a great partner of ours. And so we basically manage a grant fund. They are the funder, and we manage it and deploy those grants out. And so it's really to create a more inclusive community from a digital perspective. And how do we do that? And so when we started that process 4 years ago, we started with a community conversation and say, what are the needs? Where are the gaps? What are the barriers? What are the priorities? And so it's been 4 years since we've had that conversation. And so we're having another community conversation next week. Again, hop on our Facebook page and you can sign up to be part of that. If you want to have a voice in saying, here, what do you see as the gaps in our community and the work that you're doing? Where do we need to be focused? And then later in a couple of months, we will actually open the grant cycle. But we use these community conversations to inform our grant making so that it's not just the grants committee sitting in a dark room or dark Zoom room or whatever saying, okay, here's my favorite charities. It's never that. It's informed by data. It's informed by community conversations and community input, and really trying to, first of all, we've got to protect the interests of the funder. And so when the funder sets up the grant and says, here are the priorities, then we're going to follow the donor's intent on that and make that happen.
Right.
And so we take that very seriously. And so we've been able to do that. And again, Google Fiber, the fact that they're back again to do this, you know, we think that is a vote of confidence in the relationship that we've developed over the years.
Absolutely. Hey, we're streaming on Google Fiber right now here at the office. So there you go. We're supporting your donor. But I just want to, thank you and your organization. I know you've got a great staff there, and I know looking at the website, you've got a lot of big board of directors, a lot of local people here in our community who are volunteering to help your organization to make these great strides to make our community a better place. Melissa, if people want to get involved and learn more about the Community Foundation and different things that you guys have got going on and some of what we've just scratched the surface on today, is the best place to go to y'all's website?
Yes, the best place to go is our website. Over the years, we've had a lot of print materials, but we want to make it accessible to everyone. And so we try to really populate our website with what's going on. We actually even have a nonprofit directory on our website that says, if someone says, I'm really interested in education, who are organizations doing education work? You can look in the nonprofit directory and find those organizations. There are over 1,500 nonprofit organizations in the Huntsville area. And so this is a way for us to help direct people to those who are doing the frontline work that donors are most interested in.
Okay. Well, folks, as we've got there, right there on the broadcast there, if you will go right there to their website, I can tell you that I spent a good bit of time before today's show looking through and reading through all the mission statements and the different areas of the community compass funds and the other things you guys are doing, and learn more about the board of directors and everything else. It's just tremendous. So please check that out. Melissa, thank you and your staff and everybody for all that you're doing and things like stepping up, during the pandemic and these needs that we have, because it's making our community a better place when everything else around us is better. Even if it doesn't directly impact us, where we don't think it directly impacts us, it does. And I think that's why our community is growing, is because, it kind of like nobody's left behind. And it's kind of like they say out in the Madison schools, they rezone and get fussed about rezoning, but no, the schools are bad. All the schools are good.
Right.
And so, it's something where that's why all these companies and people are wanting to move here, because our community is such a great place. But we've got to continue to invest in our community, and that's what you guys at the Community Foundation are doing. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.